So good evening or even good morning to everybody from abroad, and good afternoon to you, Janaina, and all others who share that time zone. Thank you all to join our talk. You all know Janaina Tschäpe well from her current exhibitions shown at the Gallery of Sean Kelly's and in New York, or at the art institution Den Frie in Copenhagen, or also a year ago at the Orangerie in Paris. Janaina, if this is okay with you, I would like to travel with you to all these places. And also, if this is okay with you, I would like to go a little bit backwards in your own work, and also even go backwards decades and centuries to other artists in history, which I feel, who I feel are like related to your work. And well, with that, why don't we just jump into this painting? I remember so well when I came for the first time into your studio. That was in 2018. I had just seen in the morning your exhibition at Sean Kelly, and then I did everything in the gallery to make it possible, and they phoned you immediately, and you were, I don't know how this happened, but sometimes there are miracles like that. You said immediately, I mean, if she really wants, she might just come this afternoon. And I came immediately in the afternoon down to Brooklyn. It was like a dream. It was like dancing. My soul was dancing, in fact, in front of your paintings. And we were talking a lot about then why. Why this enthusiasm I had experienced. And I think it was very much about one thing which is very familiar to me, the depth of painting, of Northern painting, because as you know, I'm from Hamburg and I know the place where you have been to school. And on the other side, this dancing and floating and flying, which is also in a way like familiar to me. Maybe I don't know from Paris or maybe from much later back, but this is another discourse. Okay, so this wonderful painting, which is Sparkle, Night Sparkle, you did this already in 2015, isn't it?
Yes, that's correct.
And I thought, what I see here, but you have to correct me every time, and just like, don't wait till the moment that I finish the sentence or whatever, you can just interrupt. What I saw by association, it's like a surface, a water surface in the night or something, like reflections which are awaking. And now you have to work to help me with the word. The Irrlichter, how do you say this in English? Will o wisp? Will o the wisp?
Yes, the Irrlichter, like lights that confuse you, or lights that
Yes, exactly, which are coming up and disappear, like will on the
yeah.
wisp, as I looked that up. And then there is like these signs scribbled as from a foreign writing, or maybe from the writing of nature itself. You know, if somebody, sometimes when you have a leaf which is touching sand, and then there might be a wind and the leaf is like turning a little bit on the sand, and then the leaf is leaving a drawing on the sand. And sometimes
Yeah, and I think especially when one paints after memory, or just trying to visualize things that one saw or lived in nature, especially, and when you try to sort of call it back into your vision to paint it, it somehow it does translate sometimes into almost writings, into marks. The brushstrokes, they translate into a movement, into just a color.
uh-huh.
So I can relate very much to what you're saying about the like flickers and just like little signs.
Yeah. And then you have in this same painting, I had the feeling that there is wind, that there's velocity in the air, that there's some kind of speed there. And you paint, for me, you paint the impossible. Wind, as we know, we can paint the manifestation of wind, but wind in itself you can't. And speed.
But I think it's exactly that when you imagine the wind, you hear the sound, and somehow you feel the gesture of it. You feel the caress of it.
Yes.
And so when you think of painting it, you kind of translate all these things into a brushstroke that kind of caresses the paper in that way. You know, like you do sort of almost mimic that feeling through your hands into the brush and into the paint. So when it feels subtle, you kind of you elevate the brush a little, and when it feels more aggressive, you press the brush.
So you are the wind then.
In a way, it's like a tool of the wind.
Yeah, as if painting with the wind.
Yes.
Yeah. As if using the wind to paint. Yeah. Yeah, with the impossible, I thought also this one, I catch the moon from the sky for you. I mean, you want this to do if you're very much in love. This is such a wonderful team, but such a wonderful feeling when you have that. But and even you have sometimes the feeling you can do it. In this painting, I see it. I see the moon and somebody, the painting maybe, who got
who trying to lace
who
it.
really catches it. Yeah. I mean, by taking it, but what I'm also so interested in is I like a painterly element, which I want like to point out already from the beginning. These are these doorways. You see this here and that. You have always these kind of looking through situations, die Durchblicke. And I think this is so interesting and so amazing. Is this only a painterly construction, let's say, or is this an observation somewhere, or where does this come from?
I think sometimes when I start painting, when I start imagining situations, I don't have the whole painting in my head, obviously, before I paint, but I start almost carving through memories to get to the painting. And when I start with the layering, there's one layer, and the second layer is in a way what veils it. And I like leaving those windows to get through to the layer before. So it's almost like a construct of a story in front of a story, but with the possibility to engage in the first layer. So it creates those veils that you can, in a way, navigate through, like if you would do a Spaziergang, like a walk through the painting and a walk through all these processes. And because then the length of during the paint, while I paint, you start building a relationship and almost like a conversation inside the painting, between the layers, between the drawings, and what one thing does to the other.
Yeah, I think that's a very important point, what one thing does to the other. and also I think what is so important is this looking through. I think we always, I mean, and the older we grow, we look at something by looking something else, by looking through something else. We look at I mean, the fact that we see a landscape is due to our experience with paintings. If not, we wouldn't see any landscape. I mean,
Exactly.
I mean, landscape doesn't exist. This is a painterly fiction. As we know, I have sometimes the feeling you go out of this fiction and you come back to what it is to look at nature, or your painting in a certain way. For me, is like in nature in itself, anyhow, but also a kind of looking at nature as if I have never looked at it, you know, like this, the light coming from within, like the light here, you know, in this shadow lake, or there's even light here, the void
Yeah.
in painting.
You know, I think sometimes when I am like observing different situations and light situations in the landscape, you know, you observe a cloud passing by and you kind of, you're studying in a way when the light goes through, when you see the sky through, when a darker cloud, you know, goes over another cloud and it starts creating all these different planes of color. And then you start imagining what happens. And I think what happens then after when you paint is that you have like almost a photographic memory, like a data bank of shapes, of lights, and you kind of construct a new landscape with all this information, and then you break them again because you don't want to illustrate something specific. It's just a,
Of course. Mm-hmm.
you know, it's just a, sometimes it's an illusion of something, or it's just a thought of something. It's something that goes back to you, like the landscape starts at some point looking at you and then you don't know anymore. And you start and you continue this dialogue, which goes into some abyss in a way.
Mm-hmm. That's beautiful what you say. Are these stones here, these forms?
I think they are. I think actually those dark spots are more a passage through to the
Uh-huh.
inside. It goes more
Again,
in.
yeah, one of
Yeah,
these passages you have so often. Yeah,
yeah.
I saw them like monoliths or something, like huge stones. And I thought of this beautiful poem of Edmond Jabès, when he's saying that there might be a thunderstorm enclosed in a stone.
Beautiful.
You know, that
Yeah,
the stones in a way are the memory. Also, they have a memory of something what have happened, of uh, yeah, of an événement. I mean, of how do you say that? Something happened.
of a
What?
happening. Yeah,
Yeah, incident also in nature. I mean, it's on the thunderstorm is also a drama, no? That the stone might memorize that. Yeah, I think. I mean, all that. I mean, we could sit hours and talk only on this shadow lake, which is, by the way, which was in the way in this exhibition in 2018, where we met in a certain way when I came from Paris to
exactly.
New York and I
Yes.
saw your show there. Yeah, I wanted to confront you with this painting and just see your face. You know, of course, the Kirkeby, Per Kirkeby, have stirred. Because when I stood in front of Shadow Lakes, of Shadow Lake, you know, this painting came to my mind.
Yeah, I can
And
see
that's
that.
why I felt so familiar with you, because that painting in Hamburg, I have seen that so often with the painters who are like at the school there when I still lived in Hamburg. But and then all of a sudden, from very much back, also like in the memory, this northern uh, voice in a certain way came up again. And then I saw this one, and I laughed on the title, like the Tickle Me Pink and Pine Green. I mean, the Tickle Me Pink, I could sing this the whole day to get in good mood. But I learned also from you that these are just names of colors, no?
I mean, these are names that in a way suggest certain colors. The tickle me pink is kind of like when you blush or when you start laughing, when it evokes, it's so many pink
Ah, yeah.
has also so many emotions, and
Hmm.
to tickle someone to me has to do
Yes.
with pink. I don't know, there is this all which is very playful, and sometimes I think that certain paintings need a little bit of that playfulness, because
Yeah.
actually in the process of painting, like when I was painting this one, and I was really like going into that space of the pink and making
Yeah.
those marks. And as you had said before, that sometimes they're quite floating and they're really swimming around,
Yeah.
not really anchored,
Mhm.
because I think there's a game with that as well. Like sometimes the paint anchors something inside of it, and creates depth. But sometimes also it's nice to let it loose again and
Yeah.
let it kind of break free from that place that you anchored it. So
Hmm.
I like that idea of playing with that, because as you had mentioned, I studied in Hamburg, and I lived for almost 10 years as a whole in Germany. And I loved the literature, and I was reading a lot of Hermann Hesse and Goethe,
Ah, yeah.
and and obviously there is a not a heaviness, but there is a very deep feeling, and which I'm very seduced to, but at the same time I like the idea of letting go of all that, and floating away again. So I think that that's a play that I try to bring into the paintings.
Uh-huh. Yeah, and I mean, you might, if you go to Hesse and to Goethe, you know also about these colors and which kind of emotions these colors can provoke in
Evolve.
you. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So this is exactly under that angle that I just would like to look at this painting, and I have to admit that I never saw it in nature. I never saw it in person. So I just know this from the image of your exhibition in Copenhagen at this art institution, then Frie, where you do an exhibition with the painter Ursula. Can you tell her last name?
Yeah, this is a very large scale painting, and I showed it for the first time in that show.
Yeah.
We shipped it and had it stretched for the first time. And Ursula was my professor in Hamburg that I
Can you
studied
say
with
her family name?
when Ursula Reuter Christiansen, when I
Yes.
started. And we did get along, and she kind of really was an important mentor to me at the time.
Yeah.
Also, as she was the only female professor in the whole academy that
No.
was
Ah, at that time.
full of men
Yeah. But
at
Marina
the
was
time.
there. Marina Abramovich was there, no?
She was a guest professor, and then she
Yeah,
came
yeah.
maybe
Mm.
like 2 years after I was there. She came for a
Oh,
year, but when
ah,
I
yeah.
started,
There was
there
only one.
was only
Amazing. Yeah.
yeah, which is quite amazing.
Mm.
So she did anchor me and give me a lot of like strength in a way, because it was not
Yeah,
an easy
yeah.
place to
Hmm.
be. And
But
and she took me also to her home in Møn in Copenhagen. She lived in that
Oh,
island in a
fantastic.
farm,
Yeah.
and
I
we
would,
started this relationship.
yes, I would like to come so much to this painting again. Excuse me that I
Yes, yeah, yes,
interrupt you.
absolutely. No.
It's just, I'm just scared that we have enough time to go into this old paintings. What I wanted really to know also, because I mean, that's such an occasion to talk with you. Uh, Again, I see here the light coming from the within. And also, I mean, and this is just why I show these one after another. So these Raft of the Medusa from 2019, which you did like 1 year or so after the exhibition I have seen. And I think this is so highly dramatic, this painting. Not only the title, Raft of the Medusa, of course. I mean, you're really scared already of the title.
Yeah.
But what I see in this painting itself, it's like a broken landscape. I mean, here, if you go quickly, I mean, if you just look from afar and go quickly, and you might see like broken wood, or like, I mean, I had the feeling that something is broken here and floating at the same time. And I saw like a wall here, a wall of darkness. I don't know if you saw this, if
I
you
mean,
see.
I think this painting, you know, I started really like I painted this very light yellow and kind of um reddish ochre, and then I started adding those layers that were very gestural, and it was really felt to me like a bit of a, what was a it was tormented in a way, you know, like all the gestures, they started becoming more and more not aggressive, but sort of because they were very controlled. This painting was done
Yeah,
in a
there's
very
something that
fast,
like
it's
despair there, no?
there is a this, yeah, and but the paintings are done in a fast gesture in a very controlled way, and
Yeah.
when it was done, I looked at it, and that painting came immediately to my mind, the raft of
Yeah.
of the Medusa from Jericho, because it kind of,
Oh,
I
so you
felt,
will be there in there, yeah, of course, yeah, because of course, it came to my mind also because of that, you know, of
because of the
this
tempest
wall.
and the storm and the,
Yeah, yeah,
but it was actually really interesting that only when the painting was done, I
yeah,
thought of Jericho, because it kind of really brought me in
yeah.
that place.
That's a big question. I thought uh, another question because of so the titles come to you when you see the painting in front. When the painting is looking at you, it
Yeah,
tells you the title.
yes. They very, very rarely are there in the
Yeah,
beginning, you know,
like
because
this
they
one, which
really,
is
they
called,
come out of, yeah, they
yeah,
come out
which
of
is
the painting.
yeah, which is called rose madder. Yeah, and I like rose madder is the color, no? Is the
It's a
name of
color.
the color? Yeah, yeah. So what I thought is like, you know, a color pigment is in a way an extract of nature also. You don't, there's no color which is not coming out of nature. I mean, of course you can make something, but I don't think you use them. And you know, in the Andes Mountains of Peru and also in Patagonia, the women have like a huge tradition of working with the extracts of nature for their artwork. Is there an old tradition of that, like in Brazil?
I mean, there is a couple of of pigments extracted from plants
Mm-hmm.
that, you know, native Indians use to color the body, the red paints, like
Yeah.
some pigments that
Yes.
come.
Yeah.
That
And
we
it's good.
have. There is
Yeah.
one very specific one that is orange. It is
Mm-hmm.
very, very orange. Um, and that they extract. I mean, other than that, like it's basically the body paint pigments that are, you know, all extracted from plants and from
Mhm, mhm.
seeds, and that it is used for body paint.
Uh-huh. Ah, yeah. Uh-huh. Um, I'd like to come to another subject in a certain way, which is the same. It's just the float and the flowing and what you said in the beginning, that one thing wants another, calls another, one thing gives the impulse to for another. There's like a corresponding. Um, but the flow in your painting is something different. Sometimes I have the feeling that I'm looking at your painting and in fact I'm in the space underwater. When we talk about space, we are always on the earth. We are never thinking that about the space underwater, uh, these streams and floatings of the seaweeds, and of other herbs. Or here you could also be like just in herbs and insects and their noise and singings and whatever and about dancing air, whatever. Um, did this all was, I'm just fantasizing, of course. Nothing of that
But I think
was in your mind.
no, no, I think you're exactly explaining what is in my mind when I paint and when I draw, because it is the memory of those things. I mean, I was floating in the ocean the other day and I closed my eyes and I was actually hearing all this crackling of the water inside the water. When you close your eyes and you just
Yeah.
you hear this like really strange, beautiful crackling.
Mm-hmm.
Because
Yes.
sometimes when we think of the sound and the water, we would rather think of a sound that is kind of submerged.
Yeah. Yeah.
But in reality, when you dive, you hear
Oh,
all this crackling, which is
yes.
very beautiful. And
Yes.
then, so I think that those are the images that I paint and draw. Then, you know, like trying to sort of in a way almost tell a story of a certain observation, which could be observed or just listened to. You know, sometimes you close your eyes and you see and feel your surrounding in a different way, and you
Uh-huh.
see the colors and you kind of interpret it in that way. For me, the the marks and the drawings are really very much like a language and expression, you know, without
Uh-huh.
using words.
Yes, without using words. So this is another form of expressing, no? Yeah, of course. Yeah. And there are landscapes without horizon. You showed these papers, and I was so touched when we met at the Orangerie that you exposed papers when you were invited at the Orangerie to show your work at the side of the water lilies. But you didn't come with paintings. You came with drawings on paper like this one. And in fact, Monet also has this kind of floating, sparkling, reflecting depth. You can sit hours and look to that, as you can sit hours. I stood hours in front of this drawing and also in front of these. I just couldn't move so much. It was like taking me. Uh, Here in this one, what I see is like that there's, I was scared that I would encounter the face of my father in a certain way. Do you see, do you see this line here in the
Yeah,
nose?
yeah.
I mean, I felt like triggered. I thought, am I completely dreaming now that I'm seeing a face here? But you have sometimes these kind of things that you see like uh, images within. We have seen the light within, but you also have like images within. No?
Yeah, and sometimes, I mean, sometimes when I actually discover an image, sometimes I cancel it out again. Sometimes I erase it. I make it difficult to see again. You know, like it's really a bit of a like a review game. You know, and the drawings they suggest things and then they bury them again. And sometimes, you know, when you look and you see the little red marks, and then I cancel them out a little bit with white and I make them be underneath, like if they would be a reflection of the
Yeah,
red and not
yeah,
the red. And there's all these
yeah.
little games that I think are so fascinating to me that makes me continue and want to do the next one and the next one.
Yes, I mean you see that this is in a very sense of the word. It's like the same drawing. It's the same line. It is just going on and on and on, and that's what is so striking. And also you have like the metamorphosis of forms, the transformation, the perpetual transformation continuously. You have like the feeling that the Ovid is like living here, you know, that the plants are getting are getting trees, or human bodies getting trees, and a tree can get a mountain can get an ocean. You know, all these coming back and forth. I mean, like nature over ages, which is like transforming and changing, and we always see like a little spot of it and a little part, but the whole is like in this so constant moving. I mean, I'm saying what everybody knows, but in front of your paintings, this gets so conscious.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Yeah. And again, I mean, there's like this amazing velocity of forms, but this is like a virtuosity what you have in your painting, no?
Yeah, and I mean, there is I paint almost every day if I can, if there
Mm.
is a way. And I think that there is always this exactly this. Whenever I do one painting, I encounter some something new that will bring me to the next painting, and I do combine it with this sort of a with almost it's an exercise every day, so that you do become faster. There is a speed that you can
Yeah,
then
of course.
apply to it or not. You
Yeah,
know.
yeah, yeah. This is like a pianist and violinist. I mean, if you want to be good, and if you want to have like a virtuosity, you have to do it every day with
Yes.
everything,
Yes.
with
With everything.
everything. Yeah, yeah, yeah. It coming back to these persons I sometimes see, and here I have the feeling to see like a whole group of people, you know, like
Mm-hmm.
like like a Fata Morgana in a certain way, of people, and you don't know if they're really there or not. Are you in the desert, or are you where the light is like reflecting and playing games with you, or are you maybe just at the seaside somewhere, where you sometimes you have also these light reflections and the wood stacks, and uh, where is the title Pale and Yellow Summer comes from?
I mean, that's a painting that is right now in the show of
Yes,
Shakelia. So I painted it a couple of months ago. We were starting a little bit to have a little bit of spring, a little bit of summer coming into New York,
yeah,
you know, and obviously your mind wants it. So you kind
yeah,
of do project that desire of seeing that kind of light. I mean, after winter, you know, like you, and then
yeah,
you start playing games with your illusion of like how light reflects and what pattern does it make. And like you mentioned, a Fata Morgana, that is those light reflections that disappear, that are not really there. And I
yeah,
think this
yeah,
painting, to me, evoked very much that feeling. And I actually decided then to stop it, it was kind of a very interesting moment to me, because I was in the middle of the flow of it, and I stepped away and I looked and I said, I'm not going to touch it anymore. You know, it was a very precise then decision, and the intention when I started the painting was maybe to make a very layered painting with a lot of, you know, different thoughts, but
Mm.
it happened that way, that it kind of solved itself with very few brushstrokes and small marks, because actually what I was desiring and what I was wanting to see was this kind of broken light reflections that were kind of an illusion.
Yeah. Did you, when you were in Hamburg, did you meet an old painter there whose name is Grimm? Grimm?
Grimm?
Der alte Grimm.
Der
He
alte
was,
Grimm?
he was
No,
called the old Grimm. He was a wonderful painter. And he sometimes draw like people going in a carnival, for instance, like in a festival. And when he wanted to draw people who had already passed away, he painted them without a face, you know, like here, where
yeah,
you have like
yeah,
the form of the head,
right,
but nothing
right,
else. And
yeah.
since I saw this with Grimm, and since he told me that, I was very young at that period, far back in Hamburg, but it is always in my mind. And sometimes in your paintings, I saw these
Mm,
faces
mm.
coming up, but I
Yeah,
mean,
there,
that's my dreaming.
yeah, no, but there is it's sometimes it's a suggestion, you know, there's a suggestion, but I
Yeah,
don't want to impose.
yeah, of course. Yeah, 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 that would be horrible. Yeah. You have spoken with Sean Kelly the other day a lot about this huge painting, Veils of, help me with the title.
Days of blue
Yeah,
and gray.
yeah, Veils and of blue and gray, a forest. In fact, you see like, I mean, it's so striking. Your titles really invite sometimes to think, to go from the title to your paintings. Of course, this is not, this would be absurd to do that. What I would like to come back to this painting is, the reason for that is that you have here one of these, excuse me, you have this doorway again here in the upper right side of the painting here. See
Mm-hmm,
that?
mm-hmm. Yeah,
And um, uh, this is, if you look inside, you have the feeling that there is like a landscape uh, inside, with a horizon,
mm-hmm,
the seaside.
mm-hmm.
I mean, if I go and stress it, I would even tell you that I see like sailing boats on the Baltic Sea. I mean, this is too much, but I mean, I could even
It's
dream
never
that.
too much. It's
Yeah,
never
yeah.
too much.
No, no. But I would like, uh, how does this happen? That you have this, in Renaissance you have that, this
Yeah, this
landscape
kind of
inside.
weave,
Yeah,
landscape inside a landscape. But I think this particular painting, you know, in that kind of a very long horizon, a horizontal form, it does invite one to start almost creating a narrative inside the painting, because
yeah,
you're you're painting in that like from the left to the right and then back, and it is a little bit like almost, you know, creating a narrative and then erasing that same narrative back and constructing it and layering it. And I think there was a need at some point, because I had this dense, you know, this darkness and those little windows going through to the woods or to some darker
mm-hmm.
plane. And on the right side, I opened it all up, and it kind of became almost an ocean and a horizon, and then I started layering it in a different way. And I wanted to create this, in a way, a density that would talk to the other side, but in a very different language. And to me, that kind of gate going through connects back, not in a linear way, but to
an
me, it kind
atmosphere.
of, yeah, as a dialogue inside the painting, because I think that the
Yes,
painting creates those little universes and dialogues
yeah,
inside of it.
yeah. That's what I thought also in this painting, the sunken sun, this in the same exhibition of 21 now at Roncalli. Um, what I see here, I mean, if I really go with the title, the sunken sun, I can see one part of the painting, the orange one, of course, I can attribute to the title. And then there's the other one, the yellow one. So there's like 2 pages of a book, and I had the feeling that there's like a day sun and an evening sun. So the red one and the yellow one, as if there's like a, and also would be like a tradition in Renaissance, that you have like 2 paintings in one, as if you have like as if you had like a simultaneity.
Yes, because I'm always very fascinated by that, actually, by kind of not mirroring or putting parallel, making two different situations talk and making them exist in the same image, in the same painting.
Yeah.
Like really as if there would be two suns, and then there is a third sun that is already sunken underneath in the left
Yes.
side.
Yes.
and
Yes.
and it's basically like you want to create all the stages of
Yeah.
a of
Yeah.
a day inside
Yeah.
one
Yeah.
painting. You go through all the
The
sun in the
whole
morning, the sun
cycle.
in the
Yeah.
evening, then the
Yeah.
sun
Yeah.
already completely drowned, and how to actually make it possible as one, not
Yeah.
having multiple
So
images or
that you see
illustrating
the sun
multiple
passing
images.
like
And that,
yeah. There we have it, time, the time aspect in the painting.
yeah, yeah.
Huh? There
That's for
it
me
is.
like the fascination of like sometimes how to make it possible with painting. That's where painting is so fascinating, and we can't stop doing it because there's all this endless possibilities.
Yeah. Yeah.
And every day you discover a little step further how to make something happen inside that canvas. So canvas is just a endless universe for me.
Wow. Yeah. And frightening too, maybe.
Frightening
I
too,
don't know.
very.
Sometimes.
Yes.
Yeah, you told me that you were frightened, for instance, when you used for the first time, like here in the Valley too, you were using and in lots of paintings in this new exhibition at Roncalli. You used for the first time oil, oil stick, and also oil pastel uh,
Yeah.
on canvas, and which allows a much bigger velocity in your actions, no?
Yes.
In
I
your
mean,
gestures of
I
painting.
obviously made the paintings in oil as a child, growing up and throughout my life, and then I stopped for a number of years. And to me, the step of going back into oil was a big one and a frightening one because it's a kind of a thing hard to go back from again. Once you start getting into it, it kind of swallows you a bit.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
it was a big step for me, but a very exciting one, and I'm very happy to be now in that space and
Yeah, I
be
mean, that is all what is about fear and being excited of doing something. You're
yeah,
discovering a new horizon, a new horizon. And with that, you do know that you open your world a lot. At the same time, I also see that again, our friend from the orangerie, the water lilies, and but you have your own way of do your. But if you just look from afar at your valleys, of your valley 2 and 3, you see something of that kind of uncertainty, the uncertainty of reflections and of not knowing exactly what you see. That remains all the time. The question is always open. No?
Yeah. That, as I was saying before, sometimes you suggest even like a shape. You suggest a shape and then you change a little bit the shape to question that shape, and then you mirror it. So it's a constant illusion, or a constant also just giving suggestions that you then in the same painting you question those suggestions, and you answer them, and you keep it's a bit like a opening up cards and putting all these different games and shuffling it and laying it out in a different way.
Yeah, yeah. And we talked about that. We said this before, that sometimes you might be frightening of what is looking back to you, because I think what is so immensely impressing by painting is that you create something that then is looking back to you.
Mm.
It's very, very uncanny. Das Unheimliche, what you show now at Copenhagen, is very much also about that, no? That the painting, or the act of painting, is so frightening, I think.
The act of painting is frightening, but at the same time it's comforting, because it's a place, at least to me, is a place that I feel very much at home, even though it frightens me, but I go there, and
Uh-huh.
and I
Mm-hmm.
have to go there, because it is a place that I see myself and that I confront myself. And in that sense, I feel comfortable, because it is like contained in that place of complete freedom, where there's no judgment also.
Yeah. Yeah.
I might lose my war that day, but I won't be judged for it, because I can continue the next day. So I can cry and I can laugh and I can be happy. There's no judgment. And
Yeah.
that is what is also so fascinating about it.
Yeah,
That's
there's
why we
no
go
other
back there.
eye. There's just you and the
There is,
painting. Yeah, this is
yeah,
the same with writing. You're
yeah,
with your own writings, and this sometimes is also scary.
yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
I thought of this scariness of the painting also because of that. Le fou de peur. Who doesn't know that feeling, that you're mad of fear for whatever reason? All these reasons of fear very often are so irrational in our society. Very often, of course, it's also, there are reasons for it. But a painter very often is confronted to this also, the unpainted, which is looking
Yes,
at you.
yeah, because you express a lot of like suggestions of, of ideas, of thoughts, of feelings, and then they are, they don't exist as an image before you paint them. And once you start painting them, they start existing in the world. And then you have to look at them.
Yeah, yeah. Mm-hmm.
And that's a scary moment, in a way, when you see
Yeah,
it looking back at you, what you created.
yeah. And here also you have this void. You have like a fullness of painting, but then coming up is all of a sudden this void. And maybe this void is also a point of scariness, no? You told me about the scariness of the white, the scariness of of nearly too much light, if I got it right.
Yes, yes. which I think then not when you see all this, it is, we perceive it sometimes like that light, and that things that are light are happy, like are friendly. They can be, but it can be an illusion, because it also can be something that is basically like a wash over something that is
Yeah.
much more complicated in the background, and like a veil or like a whitewash, really, on
Wow,
top of it.
you scare me. I see exactly what you say. And also what you show. I mean, I have it in front of me. I have to come back to the studio as soon as possible.
Yes, you do. I agree.
Yeah, let's look to this bocaina, this cloud coming back to the impossible, to the impossibility of paintings. Cézanne once said that l'art est une harmonie parallèle à la nature. Art is a harmony parallel to nature. An immense sentence. With that, I think he opened up the road for really contemporary art, which is to just be completely independent from nature, and to be really completely like autonomous, and that the painting itself is the creation and is nature, and is also this hugeness, the huge chaos. I mean, nature is of course not observing any rule. We never can capture it.
And
really
it's in constant flux. It's
yeah,
constantly breaking and questioning, and
yeah, like the cloud. I mean, you can't.
yeah.
How can you want to draw a cloud or to paint a cloud? Which is
I
so
love
strange.
paintings and drawing clouds, actually. I
Yeah,
think of them all the time, because I that metamorphosis and that movement,
yeah,
it creates so many interesting ideas and questioning, like how, like you draw a line and then that line is broken immediately because it becomes the wind, and it becomes a trace, and then it's gone, and it's just a memory.
yes. Like the memory of the Schmetterlinge im Bauch.
Yeah. I think we all felt that in our lives. It's
Yes,
butterflies in your belly.
butterfly. Yeah, I like that expression so much. And this is also, in a way, like a bit of frightening, because you know that you might go another way in your life and you don't know where it brings you to.
Yeah.
Yeah, you have all these scribbles here, like in the middle of the belly, like this movement and the velocity again of excitement. So, I mean, a painting is a body, but the body of the painter is is encountering that body also. No? So, if you are excited, the paint might react differently. No.
Yes,
Did you
absolutely.
ever experience something like that?
Yeah, I mean, I think that obviously when you have those feelings of exaltation, excitement, being in love or being fascinated, being extremely happy, you express it. But I think what is interesting to me in painting is not only to express it, but to put it in a different context, to take those feelings and work with them and sort of abstract them again, and create languages that could suggest it.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
And I think that the drawings, especially to me, that this is like a constant quest. That's why I really like to draw every day, because it is always changing, the way that I discover how to make a of like a plane of paint, of color, how to sort of try to understand what's in the background, what's in the foreground, and how, and what is between those two. Like, it's like discovering different levels and different layers
Yeah,
of lines that could suggest different spaces and cross over them, and then break it all free again. And
yeah. Here we are again in the exhibition, in the current exhibition in New York. But what you say is so fascinating for me, the in-between of the lines, because that's exactly what we see here, no? In the middle. I don't need to
yeah,
put my cursor on it, it's so ugly. Um, and this in-between, that where is a void, where is the space is breathing. And you encounter that with your own breath.
yes, yes. I mean, this is exactly like where it sometimes gets almost frightening. You start drawing yourself, painting yourself in those places, and then all of a sudden you're really floating in between those different planes. And then how do you go back, and how do like it, because then it becomes a way of communicating, and a way that you feel very comfortable to move, and then to go
Yeah,
back again into reality can
yeah.
be more scary than to go into it.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh. Yeah. Maybe we should keep it here with this, with your word from the in-between.
Yes,
We talked about that in the beginning when we just met. Where is time when I'm between different countings of time? That's our
exactly.
situation tonight, no? Yeah, between
Yes.
Paris and New York, between different times and spaces and zones and thoughts and persons and faces. Thank you
But the
so much.
fascinating thing about talking to you, Doris, is that we always find that space together.
Yeah, we find this all together, together again, and let's put it like that. As soon as possible, I will be back in your studio. Maybe it
I
already
would
today.
love that.
Okay.
This year, let's do it.
Yes.
All right. Thank
Bye.
you so much. Thank you so
Yeah.
much for the talk.
No, thank you.
Bye.
Thank you,
Bye,
Janaina.
everyone.
Thank you. Okay. Bye. And bye to
Bye.
everybody. Okay. Bye.